Hello, my name's John Liot. I'm a photographer from the UK and this is Photo Retrospective, a short video series where I look back at some of my favourite images and expand on the stories behind them. With the way social media works, I found that so many of my photographs get lost within news feeds and timelines, and very rarely do people get an insight into what came to pass to create these images. Rather than let an image of substance get forgotten within the 24 hours it's active on Facebook, I've decided to create these videos to try and breathe new life into old images. This image was shot on a Canon EOS 6D with an 85mm 1.2 lens. The aperture was f/16, the shutter speed was 103 seconds and the ISO was 50. Episode 1, The Lights at Night. This is a piece of work that resonates with a very somber time of my life. In early September of 2014, having found myself in a state of forceful independence, opting to live on my own after the release from a toxic relationship, I spent countless nights awake and alone with my thoughts. Living without the playful distraction of the internet and residing in a small town still awaiting the return of my university friends, the silence of my life was becoming uncomfortable. Happy to self-describe as introverted and content on my own, this however was a period when solitude may have been therapeutically beneficial, but was at the cost of an intense mental fatigue. I had recently moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Falmouth that would have been empty if not for the massive moving boxes I had decorated the free space with. The loneliness of my home motivated me a lot to venture out on photography-infused walks. One of the most beautiful parts of the Falmouth coast to me was the horizon, always dotted with giant tanker ships that juxtaposed the quiet and peaceful natural sea view with a harsh yet silent man-made presence. I found a companion in the stillness of the nights in Cornwall. So far removed from the hustle of the larger UK cities, by 10 PM most places in Falmouth that didn't serve alcohol were empty. The streets cleared out and by midnight the atmosphere had gone from calm to sleeping. These were hours where my creativity thrived. Readied with a camera, tripod and a selection of music, I found myself constantly repeating a self-assessment of, this is why I'm happy to be alive. I felt like so much of what was bringing me down day to day had been stripped away, and what I'd been left with was a conscious enjoyment of art, of both the creation experience and the appreciation of others. It was almost ironic how much enjoyment I found from being alone during these hours. Perhaps it was because during the day I felt like I needed to make social connections, that this is what everyone else was doing and I wasn't keeping up with the rest by hiding away. At night though, when I felt like I was the only one awake and creating, I felt unique and purposeful, as if my early hour activities justified my self-imposed solitude, that I was making up for the time lost during the day by succeeding during the night. Walking along a familiar path one morning, at the sensible hour of 4 AM, I saw a lone ship sitting atop the horizon line, its light seemingly as a beacon in the dense void, calling towards nothing, yet also reaching everything. In the midst of my depression, I very rarely found myself presenting photography as a literal means of conveying my emotions, but times like this I felt connected to what I saw. My feelings of isolation and loneliness attached themselves to the view of the thick-skinned vessel, utterly enveloped and overburdened by the size of the sea, but still staying afloat and still pushing out the light that kept it visible. What I saw was an already beautiful view, but because of the circumstance, through taking this photograph I had attached my emotions and current sense of self to its narrative. In many ways, though void of me, it's a self-portrait. The image was shot with a means to emphasize the presence of the light, whilst also making the space around it seem infinite and cold. This is an image I've spent many nights looking at in silence, because it carries with it that palpable sense of location and placement. During a time when I was very bipolar with my emotions and my mental stability, this image was taken at a point where, for a few hours, I was content with being on my own. In a literal darkness, I wasn't scared, and with not a soul around me, I wasn't lonely. Instead, using that emptiness for my own gain, in a sense, I manipulated the world around me to make myself comfortable. Not just comfortable, but happy. The reality is that this is what gets so many of us down. We feel that the world is closing in on us and we're being swept away in a tide that we can't escape from. That the force of us wanting to change isn't stronger than the force of what's moving us in that single direction. That our actions are non-compliant with the desires of the world. The truth is that the world is often our sandbox to create and find happiness within. When you stop seeing the world as an enforcer of the negative emotions you feel, and instead see it as the facilitator for what makes you feel alive, well, for me, that was a light bulb moment, and I realised the importance and power of perception.